Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at winter 2020 to 2021. This year we'll have a La Nina winter. La Nina is when you have cooler water off of South America. La Nina means, usually for the South, you have dry and warmer conditions, while in the Midwest and the West, you'll have colder and wetter conditions. There's multiple products that go into a winter outlook. One of them is Arctic oscillation. When negative, you have ridges on both sides of the oceans, one by Greenland and one by Alaska, pushing the Arctic air southward into the United States. On the west coast, you have warm, dry conditions, and on the east coast and Midwest, you have Arctic air, and you have a bunch of nor'easters coming down because you have a subtropical jet stream that, when active, you have storms coming from the west, going and mixing with cold air and forming a nor'easter. But when positive, you have Arctic air that is locked up and does not make it south. You have warm conditions still across the whole United States, but meanwhile up in Canada and Alaska you have Arctic air that does not fade away. Another factor that comes into the equation is an NAL. This is a negative NAL when you have ridging up in Greenland and you have Arctic air coming down from the Arctic, forcing the cold air to go into Europe and America, while you have a high pressure out in the west coast. And NAL when positive, you have again Arctic air locked up in the Arctic, and you have mild conditions across the whole United States, Africa, and even into Europe. A PNA, also known as the Pacific North Oscillation. You have colder conditions in the east when positive, and warmer conditions out in the west because you have a ridge in the west. But when negative, you have colder conditions in the west, but warmer conditions out in the east because you have ridging out in the west. Out in the east. And my final winter forecast is here. Drumroll please. Anywhere in the light blue, stretching from the coast of Oregon and Washington all the way out into Maine, you have chances to have a slightly colder winter this year, from 0.5 degree to a -1 degree this year. From the Washington mountains all the way into Vermont, you have a degree or two below average, and anywhere in North Dakota, Minnesota, and Montana, you have 2 degrees to 3 degrees below average. Anywhere from California to North Carolina, you have 0.5 degrees to a degree above average. Anywhere from Arizona to Georgia, you have a degree to 2 degrees above average. And anywhere from Arizona to Florida, you'll have 2 to 3 degrees above average. My other map that I have here is my snowfall map. Anywhere in the light blue, from the coast of Washington all the way up to the northern tips of Maine, you have 25% above average this year. So you take your total snowfall average and you times that by 25%. That's what you usually should get. Here in dark blue, you have 50% above average snowfall this year, anywhere from the mountains of Washington all the way into Wisconsin. Anywhere in the red here is lake effect. This year we'll have an abundance of snowfall this year because you have multiple cold shouts coming down, sweeping into the east. But anywhere in this, where any has no color, it's going to be an average year. Anywhere in the yellow, you have 25% chance of being below average, and 50% below average. Anywhere in the orange, anywhere from California all the way up to North Carolina. This year could go either way. You have multiple factors. For the east, it could be warm and dry because you have a La Nina winter, but you have also a negative Arctic oscillation that could form, a negative NAL that could form, that is right here, and a positive PNA, which would cause colder conditions. But let's say the opposite happens. You still have a La Nina no matter what. What if you have a positive Arctic oscillation, a positive NAO, and a negative PNA? Well, then the East Coast would be a lot warmer than predicted here, and the West Coast would be a lot colder. But as of right now, I think the Arctic oscillation will displace and cause colder conditions across the northern part of the U.S., while the South will be an abundance year of being above average. I hope everybody had a good day today, and happy Thanksgiving tomorrow, guys.